All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining our first ever Domo Build virtual event. My name is Matt Mecham. I am the Chief Customer Officer here at Domo, and I am thrilled to be your host for the day. I was just checking in on who we have, and wow, we have representation all over the world. We have Canada, we have London, we have Alberta, a bunch of people from Georgia. Welcome from Georgia, Dallas, New York. This is going to be a great event. We're so excited to be with you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us for Domo Build. Now, there has never been a more exciting time to be in the world of data. And over the next 2 hours, we're going to talk about how to build an intelligent enterprise with AI. To do this, we have brought on a fantastic lineup of Domo customers, Domo partners, and even our very own Domo employees to show us how they are putting AI to work in their business and our business. So our goal is really threefold. What we want to do is we want to show you how you can become an AI powerhouse. We are going to talk about how you can create the right conditions to thrive in this new AI world. And you can do it. You can become an AI powerhouse. We are also going to show you how AI forward organizations are not only building, but driving real quantifiable impact for their business. And of course, governance, right? We are going to show you how you can thoughtfully build these solutions in both a smart and a governed way. So as we go throughout the day together, you're going to hear from AI forward thinkers like Amanda Hull, the CFO at Massman. Her and her team eliminated a 2,400 manual hours of work process with just a single AI agent that verifies purchase orders. We're also going to hear from my friend Sean Thompson at Freddy's. Shout out to the best custard and steak burgers out there. Sean Thompson built an AI always-on monitoring process that streamlines their pricing process across 600 stores. So as we go throughout the day, you're going to see customers are seeing success with AI, and you can too. That is our goal for you. And as we follow all of these stories, I think what you're going to notice is that there is a similar pattern. There are principles that all of these cutting-edge AI forward thinkers are using in order to push the bounds of what's possible. And before I get in and we jump into our customers, because that's who you want to hear from, I wanted to share a little bit of my own point of view about what are those principles and patterns and how you can implement them in order to build a truly intelligent enterprise. So as I think about things, what I often say to our customers and our partners when it relates to AI is your AI strategy starts with your data strategy, and your data strategy starts with your data foundation. So whether your foundation is built on Snowflake or BigQuery or Databricks, to be successful, we have to get our data house in order, and we have to get AI ready. We have to connect all our data. We have to get it centralized in one single place. And the goal ultimately is to create a single source of truth that your AI can trust and use. Now, the second thing, once we have our data foundation in place, the next step is activation. So this is where all the magic happens. This is where your AI agents begin working on your behalf. They can analyze data at scale, they can identify patterns, surface anomalies, answer questions, automate decisions, execute workflows. This is really where you get a ton of leverage out of your AI capabilities as it relates to activation. And then, of course, finally, you have to distribute that out. This is where the rubber really meets the road. This is when you are able to deliver intelligence where the work happens, to the right people, at the right time, everybody is able to move faster. They're able to make better decisions and ultimately drive stronger business outcomes. So this is the process. And all the agents you are going to see today and on all our online content that we're going to post on the website are going to use some version of this pattern. And what do we love about Domo? Well, Domo is here to help you every step of the way. Domo is here to help you govern your data. We're here to help you activate it with AI agents and automation, and of course, distribute that intelligence directly to the people and into the workflows where work gets done. And the other thing that's great is we want to do it your way. Customer choice is a huge, huge thing for us. We want you to be able to run these things on your cloud. We want you to be able to leverage the AI models that you have, your inference layer. And of course, you're going to receive the benefits of Domo's enterprise-grade governance that we built into the system right from the start. So building an intelligent enterprise, it isn't just about buying another AI tool, and there's many, and thousands will come over the course of the next months and years. For us, our mission has never changed. It's about creating a system that turns data into intelligence, intelligence into action, and then finally, action into outcome. And that's what we're here for. That's what gets us excited, is the business value that you're realizing from Domo and that you're implementing using AI and all these new AI forward techniques. So thank you again for spending your time with us today. We encourage everyone to jump in the chat, ask questions, engage with each other throughout the session, and we'll do our best to answer questions all along the way. So without further ado, I want to introduce our first presenter here today, and his name is Jim Fairweather. So Jim Fairweather is a longtime leader, and he is the head of AI go-to-market at Google. And he's going to join us to show us how we can align our infrastructure strategy with our product strategy to build enterprise-grade agentic solutions. For him, the future of AI isn't just about better prompts, and we're all learning how to write better prompts. It is where and at what scale code runs. So with that, please welcome Jim Fairweather.
Thanks so much, Matt. And I will take over the screen share here. Appreciate that intro. And hello to everybody out there. All right. So if you look at telemetry data of Formula One racing team, you won't find discussions about the color of the paint or the sponsor logo on the driver's suit. You'll find discussions about capacity, downforce coefficients, brake thermal dynamics, and fuel flow rates. In the world of high-performance racing, your output is strictly bound by your underlying capacity. If you have the most beautiful carbon fiber chassis in the world, the most elegant aerodynamic code in your bodywork, but the engine lacks the physical capacity to deliver the raw horsepower, you'll be left sitting useless on the starting grid. And so today, the technology world's facing its own engineering crisis on the starting grid. For the last 18 months, we've had conversations that have been obsessed with code. Which model has the most parameters? Which one has the longest context window? While the code's essential, you can't win a Grand Prix in a minivan. The engine alone does not win the race. The AI model is just a component, is completely blind without context, and completely useless without the physical capacity. So I work with software and technology companies across the country. And one common mistake I see is the one we call a model-only illusion. And we're seeing this commoditization of brilliance. The models are getting smarter, faster, and cheaper every day. But here's the hard truth. Code is a level playing field, not a competitive advantage. If everyone has access to the same high-powered engine, the engine isn't why you win. You win because of how you use it. And frankly, we've seen some misuses of these powerful coding models, and they show up rather clearly on the balance sheet. We must move past this one model to rule them all. The winning strategy for the next decade is a portfolio play. You don't run your hybrid engine at 100% full throttle performance when you're cruising down the pit lane. It's a waste of capacity and fuel. You don't need the most powerful models to summarize emails. In the agentic era, you must route your tasks dynamically. You route your simple, high-speed agentic actions to lightning-fast, ultra-low-cost models like a Flash model. You save your state-of-the-art models, like a pro model for the heavy multi-step logical reasoning. And you leverage native models, like a Gemini Omni, when you need seamless blend of text, audio, image, video, and edit the content step by step using natural language. And for those highly proprietary sovereign data, you deploy kind of open weight models like a Gemma or others in your virtual private cloud. That's model redundancy. It's about building a modular abstraction layer so that if a model has a bad Friday, your system doesn't even blink. To win the race, the driver needs to have the real-time telemetry. You need context. And part of that context is how ready the organization is to take on AI. Agentic development's evolving at an exponential pace. To avoid scaling more chaos than innovation, there are 3 best practices we've seen clients use to bring rigor to their agentic strategy. The first is prioritize with precision. The most common pitfall I see in the organizations is that they're treating AI as a solution in search of a problem. We want to identify where the most friction exists and where we can make the most impact to a critical business outcome. The next is to build a unified data foundation. AI is only as powerful as the data that feeds it. Data hygiene isn't an IT task. It's a foundational business imperative that's creating a sustainable competitive advantage. And our friends at Domo know a thing or two about this. And lastly, you got to activate the organization. Technology alone does not create value. People do. And it demands a cultural shift in upskilling and leadership. So we must securely ground our models natively into our enterprise data, our databases, our document stores, our real-time searches, because we're transitioning from this instruction-based computing where we click buttons and write lines of code to an intention-based computing where we state a goal and then an agent executes it. And so there's one thing I'd like to call out. Building individual productivity is not the same thing as building institutional value. The tooling and the governance approaches are vastly different. There's a time and a place for each. And in fact, institutional AI should take inspiration from individual AI. However, many organizations are dealing with agent sprawl, where the creativity and chaos of individual AI is bleeding into institutional AI, causing confusion for the users, increasing organizational risk, and is a nightmare to govern. There needs to be a balance of creativity and speed against this coordination and safety. And so it's a challenge many IT teams are facing, and it should sound familiar. There's a demand for more tools than they have capacity to build. There's inconsistent tracking. There's different UIs and styles, which makes it difficult to learn, use, navigate, and there's a ton of duplication. And so we want to think about it slightly differently. Instead of thinking about it as governance for teams or people who want to build and deploy agents, we like to think about it as lighting a path for agent development. And so, of course, building enterprise agents is a lot more complicated than building individual agents. The hardest part about building institutional and enterprise AI is the beginning and the end. If you're going to resource this, you need to focus on defining what you are building, who the user is, what the ideal user experience should look like, and when they would use it. And so now that you've built something, how do you measure the ROI? It's a common question coming up again and again, especially from the board. But this is a framework we go back to again and again with how we answer these questions. But the first is to start with AI utilization, which has become table stakes at this point. This is where most companies measure the adoption, and it's usually from when individuals save time, and it's the individual AI. The second is this step about AI depth. This is measuring how an end-to-end workflow you have could be automated. And when we automate the workflows, we eliminate bottlenecks. And this is where true AI starts to reside and starts to show up within an organization, not just as an individual. And the third step is about AI breadth. And this is where the game changes. This is where you're building autonomous operations. You can build systems that don't just monitor the business, but they act on it. They see, they hear, they resolve issues before they happen, creating self-correcting operation. Most people aren't here yet. But this is also where the physical reality of the universe catches up with us. Running millions of tokens of context and orchestrating thousands of background agents requires an enormous, unyielding amount of physical capacity. AI doesn't live in the cloud. AI lives in silicon. It lives in this liquid-cooled copper pipes, high bandwidth fiber optic lines, massive physical concrete structures humming with electrical currents. Every single token your agent generates has a literal physical cost in watts, amps, and thermal dynamics. If your product strategy doesn't include an explicit and co-designed infrastructure strategy, you're building a beautiful sports car with a garden hose full for a fuel line. It will choke. And so how do we bring this together? How do we build internally and externally in this agent era? It requires breaking down the strategic silos in our C-suites. Too often, the product team's busy designing beautiful carbon fiber bodywork. The engineering team is in another room trying to make the engine compile, and the finance team is staring at the fuel bill in absolute horror. We must align. The chief product officer, chief technology officer, chief financial officer must sit in the exact same table, sharing a single unifying metric: cost per outcome, not just cost per token. They must design AI products around physical realities of compute capacity, building for model redundancy, securing enterprise grounding as the moat, and treating infrastructure as a first-class citizen of product design. The gold rush era for AI experimentation is winding down, and the area of operational excellence is officially here. The companies that win the next decade won't be the ones that wrote the loudest, most hype-filled press release. They'll be the ones that had the discipline to align their code, their context, and their capacity. They'll be the builders who design resilient, cost-effective, and secure digital assembly lines that solve real human problems. Full speed ahead. Thank you.
And thank you, Jim. We appreciate you joining us. Wow, we had some great quotes. Can I tell you just real quick before you drop one of my favorites? AI is only as powerful as the data that feeds it. We appreciate you coming on, Jim. We appreciate the partnership with Google and everything that you're doing. You're an incredible thought leader. So thanks for joining us today. And everybody in the audience, please feel free to reach out to Jim, and we'll upload all this content. There's a bunch of questions here about whether the content's going to be uploaded, and all of this will be made available online for you. So Jim, thank you so much. Appreciate you
Thanks,
joining.
Matt. Thanks for having me. Enjoy the day.
You know, you can't lose with the car analogy. That's what I always say. That was awesome. Great start with Jim. Moving on to our next presenter, you know, Jim kind of covered what I talked about is the data foundation piece. And obviously Google and BigQuery are a big piece of that, along with many of our other partners. Now I want to talk a little bit about activation and distribution of your data. And to do that, I'm going to bring on a couple of our friends at ESPN. Doug Kramon and Jennifer Lien at ESPN are here to show us how they are creating an entirely new way to track and monitor real-time fan intelligence. And they are doing this by having built what they call an AI-driven alerting system. So please join me in welcoming both Doug and Jennifer, and also a couple of our own Domo employees, some of my favorites, Hunter Nilsen and Gavin Fraser, who are going to walk through how they're changing the game with real-time fan intelligence.
Matt. It's a pleasure to be here. And also, Jen, Hunter, and Gavin. We are a small group, yet we are mighty with regards to what we've been able to do with Domo, the AI space. And we want to share that with you because what was just discussed is a perfect example of what we do. I think the example that was just discussed was all about Formula One and the McLaren team. We are big believers of everything F1 as well. But in the world we live in with regards to ESPN fan support, the model is moving at the speed of live. And our job is to be brief, bright, and gone with regards to the customer support we need to do. And a big part of that, the most important part of that, is the bright part. And the bright part relies on fan intelligence. So a lot of what we do is all about aggregating, if you will, all the data, the dark data that comes in from every single fan conversation in real time, and actually turn that into actionable data at the speed of live in real time. And that's always been a challenge. But with AI now and with Domo, we've been able to do something that we think is just second to none and exceptional. So, before I pass it off to Jen to talk a little bit more, we put out a goal where we have all of this data, thousands of contacts that come in across the omni-channel every day. And when I say the omni-channel, these are contacts into customer service that come in via chat, phone, email, web form, SMS, text, social media, you name it. We offer that different option to our fans. And what we wanted to do was build a real-time query and conversational AI agent that would connect to our Zendesk, which is a CRM, our Zendesk CRM tool, search all of our data sets and come back with intelligent responses for any questions we have of our fan contact data in real time and directly in our Domo instance. And that's really what we did. So with that, I want to pass it to Jen real quickly before we will ultimately go under the hood with Hunter and Gavin, who are able to build this incredible service. But Jen, let me pass it to you real quick for any comments as well.
Yes, thank you, Doug, and thank you, Domo, for inviting us to be part of this Domo Build session. As Doug mentioned, we move at the speed of live. And when we have live events, like we just finished and wrapped up the NBA Finals, what's important for us as the fan support team at ESPN is to meet the fans where and when they are in need of support, in need of assistance and guidance. And so an example that we've been able to apply this live alerts trigger is for the previous five games in the NBA Finals, which as a native New Yorker, I could focus more on the game and lean into Domo for those triggers if there are purchase issues, streaming issues, and our Zendesk tickets, our conversation with our fans, our subscribers are ingested within those intervals of time so that we get alerted when we have an influx of certain issues that impact our fans, and that we need to be in the moment to identify those issues, address them, share that with our product, our engineering, our marketing teams, and so that we can inform our internal stakeholders when these moments arise. And we are able to input whatever, tentpole major sporting events that may be of interest to us to have these alerts enabled. When we think about our sports calendar, we're going to have the US Open coming up, Wimbledon, and these are events that we want to meet our fans and be there to support them in their time of need. And so this alert page has been fruitful and insightful in giving us that information in real time. I also want to share what we've also built with being able to report on the findings post-event. So the live event data that's in the moment. But what happens when our leadership, our marketing team, they want to be able to have an idea, a summarization, be able to have these takeaways of what has happened after an event has taken place. So we're able to identify and ask about known issues, whether it's within the 15-minute interval, whether it's today or the week prior. We're able to ask the AI, what are issues, what are takeaways, what are executive and leadership insights that we can share internally? Because with fan support, the buck does not stop with us. We are empowered to share information with our leaders and our executives so that we can make impactful, data-driven decisions, and we can, have an influence on our roadmap and how we prioritize the sports calendar moving forward.
And to add to that, I think something that matters most is we need to be able to get this data in the moment to our leadership. And it's customer service that we oversee. And honestly, nobody reaches out to customer service to say that, hey, everything's wonderful. That's really not what we're there for. What comes our way is often bad or ugly. And with that, whether it's anything impacting the product, the pricing, product promotions, interaction with the product limitations, or overall application use, we need to have that information and never provide anecdotal responses. We need to be precise with what we're given. And with so many contacts, it would have taken days, if not weeks, to be able to produce those results for executive asks and summaries. But now with Domo AI, with the LLM use we have, it just takes seconds, and we're able to provide the most elegant, comprehensive reply written in the most elegant form. And it also offers predictive information that allows us to move and create more compelling and better solutions going forward. It's interesting, and I just want to add this before I hand this off a bit further. When it comes to AI, I saw something on CNBC this morning that I thought was really interesting. It was called the bullets versus butter dynamic with regards to economics, and how actually now that's applying to AI. And when nations and economics look at, how do they, manage that, do you create a military infrastructure that's bullets and put all your money towards that? And thus, then there's the butter, which is obviously feeding your people. There's that. How do you find the balance? What we're seeing in business today, especially with AI, is a massive ask, a massive push to AI infrastructure, push to AI, proof of concept with AI, hyperscalers, look at the different opportunities for services with, you name it, for business intelligence, for different use cases. But the butter environment is really where Jen and I live, where we're able to provide an outcome of, look at what the AI with Domo can actually do to provide, if you will, sustenance to our executive leadership that allows them to move more efficiently and create a more elegant product. And that's what Domo's been able to build for us. So I'm getting ready to pass it off to Hunter and Gavin. But before I do, Jen, is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we make the leap to look under the hood to show all the exciting stuff we built with this AI prompt agent that you see here and the alert triggers?
Yeah, one thing I do want to close before we hand it off to Gavin and Hunter is that we're there in the moment with live events. We're there with the AI to provide insightful summaries to our leadership. And when we look into the future, we've also created the Super Bowl Insights, where we're able to listen in to what our fans are talking about in terms of the Super Bowl and be able to prepare for next year when we host it, Doug, and we'll be able to empower ourselves with data in order to meet the fans where their concerns are. And Domo has empowered us with the ability to have more complete, actionable insights in the products that matter to us and our fans.
Absolutely.
So that,
and again,
yes.
This real quick is, we're listening to the fans on their terms. So we've opened up our listening, if you will, in real time to any inquiries regarding the Super Bowl super early. I mean, there's really not any talk about the Super Bowl at this point in time. Season hasn't begun, preseason hasn't begun. But as soon as conversation starts, wherever it may be, we want to make sure that we understand the pulse of the fan to make that experience the best it can be, to guide appropriately, to hold the hands of our fans as we get closer and closer. So to be able to utilize this and synthesize the data in an instant is just something that we find to be a dream. So I think at this point we should look under the hood and have Gavin and Hunter show what they built.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Gavin, I think, is going to start off first going through it.
Yep. So yeah, thanks, Jen and Doug. So when Doug and Jen came to us with the use case of needing to increase the frequency of their data sets, which were previously running just daily, and they needed to increase them while maintaining efficiency for these live events. There was two things that came to mind. One being, let's just increase the data sets to run every 15 minutes, because of course that's the best case scenario for that. But then you're sacrificing on the credit efficiency. And so then we thought of building this pro code app, which we could set event times and trigger data sets from here. But to do so, to do this intelligently, we needed to bring together 4 different Domo layers. One being the pro code side, of course, which then pairs with AppDB within Domo. And then that, in coordinates with workflows and code engine, we're able to build a whole experience that they can set when these live events are, and then data sets can trigger only when they want it to at a frequent rate, so that of course they can get real-time data to make real-time actionable insights. So just kind of show you the app's process and how we did it. They're of course able to set their events. They can import their calendar for when their events are that they want to have frequent updates for. Then this is a simple one with just 3 data sets that they need, to have these fan insights coming in for. But you can imagine if you have, 5, 10 different data sets in your pipeline that you need to be coordinated and reduce data latency. But after configuring the app with their events and their data sets, they can add whatever data set or data flow IDs they need. Those are then saved in an AppDB, which is then, the source of how this all operates. So then we jump into workflows. Let me share my tab here. And this is a really simple one that its sole purpose is to allow the whole brains of the operation, which is the code engine function, to continue running and to be to trigger it so that I can at all times kind of detect and look at the AppDB to say, hey, are we in a live event or NBA Finals Game 5, or for example, an NBA draft? Are we doing that right now? Because if so, then it's able to every 15 minutes trigger updates to those data sets, wait for the longest one to finish running, so they're both done, then it triggers the next step, and so on and so forth. So just to wrap that all up, and let me just show you this code engine function as well. Not to get too deep into it, but then once we wrap all this up and we jump into App AI and how, what is the point of all this? The whole point is to get all of these actionable insights with real-time data to Doug and Jen and team, so that they can then get coordinated with their engineering and product teams to solve these fixes. So then we have the App AI and alerting system, which I'll then pass off to Hunter to take us under the hood of that.
Awesome. And just for sake of time, we're going to run through a quick example just showing what's happening under the hood with App AI. So like Jen talked about earlier, NBA Finals, lots of questions around what was happening during it. I'm going to cue off one of these questions, and we're actually just going to look at what's happening under the hood of this AI chat. And for the performance that they need with their executives or product team, looking for quick answers the next day about what went wrong, how to take those lessons and point them towards the next event, we want to scope the context down of their Zendesk data set, like Doug mentioned, as much as we can. We want to build in the tools so that it's getting the answers as quickly as Jen and Doug need them. So what's actually happening here behind the scenes is it's going through these rounds of querying the data set based off of our input, and it's trying to scope that context down as quickly as possible within the data set. We have a few different tools, one to go through the data set, one to pull actual examples of transcripts that people are submitting in. And it's all correlated to these columns within the data set to find, what is the problems that fans were experiencing during the NBA Finals between, this day and this day, and, filter it down by product and specific error type. And so now it's probably got, one more round to pull this all together, and it's going to give Jen and Doug a very in-depth, here we go, breakdown of all the issues sorted by volume, and we could get into specific transcripts and everything as to what went wrong. But yeah, just
you look at
call
this
it there.
real quick. if I may,
Oh.
this is the butter that I was talking about before. Working with Domo, just one proof of concept has turned into a tool we cannot live without, because it comes back so elegantly written that we're able to provide so much insight to our leadership in ways it would take weeks to do before. It's just incredible to see.
And I'd also like to add that we've enabled a feature where we can take the output and we could decide, okay, what kind of briefing would we like to give our internal stakeholders? Would we want something more targeted to executive leadership, or do we want language that is and tone that is more relevant to our product and engineering teams? So we've enabled ourselves to have that option and to be able to share the data, share the insights based on who our audience is and what type of message we want to deliver. All thanks to Domo.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Doug, Jennifer. We appreciate you coming on. Gavin, Hunter, I think what everybody is wondering is, what is this balance? And just a quick question, how much of this is built using AI? You know, it's obviously an AI solution, it's agentic in nature, but I think one thing that we want to just relay to this community is what's possible in terms of using AI to build these data products.
Yeah, I mean, completely. Like, all of it's AI, like anybody can do it. That's the beauty of it. You can jump in, and as long as you know the context of your business and your data, you can really jump in and build anything with AI.
Awesome. We'll let you guys go. ESPN, thank you so much for joining us. What an awesome solution. Data at the speed of live, in one of the most cool industries I think there's out there. And congrats to the Knicks who pulled it off in this NBA Finals. We appreciate it. We did have a quick question from Jody who asked, are there opportunities to learn how to use AI to build data products like the one you saw with ESPN? One of the things that we're doing is we're really focused on putting more and more content out there for you to teach you step by step on how to apply Domo AI tools to build these agentic solutions. And one of the things that we've been doing is what we call an AI bootcamp. So we'll make sure to follow up with everybody to get you involved in what we call our AI bootcamp, where we can come to your office, we can do one-to-many forums, webinars to show you how to build these things yourselves. And we're looking forward to you doing exactly that. Okay, so for our next presenter, do we have any Snowflake fans out there? Snowflake is a near and dear partner to Domo, and we're super excited to bring our friend Mayor Mahadeshwar on. Now, he is a partner sales engineer at Snowflake, and what he's going to do is he's going to show us how leading organizations are closing the gap between AI insights and actual business execution. So in this session, we are going to learn how Snowflake Cortex Code and Domo can work together to turn AI outputs into automated workflows, faster decisions, and measurable results. So we're really excited to have you, Mayor. We'll leave it to you, but we definitely have a lot of Snowflake fans in the Domo universe, and so we appreciate you showing us how this can all work together.
Cool. Thank you so much, Matt, for the introduction, and excited to be here. Thank you to the Domo team for the invitation. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all our viewers. And my name is Mayur Mahadeshwar. I'm the partner sales engineer for Domo at Snowflake. Work very closely with the Domo team on a lot of our mutual customers, deployments, engagements. So, very excited to be here today. And what we are talking about is multi-agent systems. Now, there has been a proliferation of agents, but a lot of business users like and love the Domo interface. But they do have data agents which they have already built in Snowflake. So today, I'm going to talk about how you can use Domo and its excellent AI abilities for orchestrating agents. You ask questions of your Domo agents, but then the Domo agents actually use Snowflake agents underneath the covers. So just a high-level overview of the Snowflake architecture. At the lowest level, we have the context layer. On top of that, you build your Snowflake agents. And on top of that, you have your experiences via Snowflake Cowork or Snowflake Coco. So the real challenge, as I mentioned earlier, was if you have worked with LLMs, you realize that LLMs are not deterministic. They are most of the times they are probabilistic, which means that you want to make sure that the answer that you get from your data platform, like Snowflake, is the same answers that you get when you query from a tool like Domo. So in order to do that, you want to make sure that you are as often as possible reusing your agents. And some of the tasks which you have offloaded to your data agents hence return the same responses. So what we have over here is a multi-agent pattern that I'm seeing more often used across customers. In this case, a user logs into their Domo environment and uses Domo as the main orchestration or the interface for doing various tasks. And the Domo agent essentially is the brain of the system. The system uses LLMs. You can either use Snowflake as the inference point, or you can use any other model provider of your choice. But the agent, or rather the Domo agent, then decides, hey, this is a task that is probably best done by the Snowflake agent that I already have. So let me use and let me offload this task to a Snowflake Cortex agent. The Snowflake Cortex agents has a set of tools which are specific to Snowflake for that task. It could be your Cortex Analyst, Cortex Search, your semantic views. So that way you don't have to worry about having, like different responses across different sets of data. So now the Snowflake agent basically runs that task and then returns the result back to your Domo agent, who then, based on that result, can maybe trigger a workflow, take any action, or maybe even for that matter, call another agent from another data platform. So that's how a pattern for multiple agents works. And it can get, pretty complicated, and there could be like multiple levels to this. So the Snowflake agents can then use a swarm of agents to accomplish the task. The possibilities are just endless over here. Now, enough of the slides. Let me actually show you all this in action. So I have this Snowflake agent over here, which is essentially working off a set of clinical studies. Now, these are all clinical studies which exist in Snowflake, and I have built an agent on top of it. Now, if I ask this agent any question, I do get a response, right? How many studies are in phase 2? Let's see. So it returns the number of studies which are in phase 2. This is good. But what if I want the same response when I query it from Domo, from the same user persona? So I have the role as a Domo role. So I have this clinical agent in Snowflake. Now, whenever I use this agent, I want to make sure that, how many studies are in phase 2. So I want this agent to actually offload the task to the Snowflake agent. As you can see over here, it's actually delegating the operation to the Snowflake agent that we have defined in Snowflake. This is our Snowflake agent that's actually doing the work. Now, while it's actually returning the result, you can also check the query that Snowflake ran for this for getting the result, and the query is available over here. Now let's go back to Domo and see if we have the same results. So as you can see over here, we have the same 13 studies which are currently in phase 2. And the answer is consistent whether I query it from Snowflake or whether I execute it from Domo. And that's the sort of consistency that I am looking for. I want to make sure my business users and my technical users get the same response. And just to show you that, we are actually, there's also observability on your agents. So just to show you that you're not actually cheating over here, But these are the two request ID which I just ran. And as you can see, one is originating from an external application. The other is coming from Snowflake Intelligence or Cowork. We have rebranded Snowflake Intelligence to be Cowork now. And this is the exact same question and the same agent responses. So this way, I can assure that the multi-agent system that I have built is intelligent enough to offload specific tasks to the data agents underneath it, and then surface the results on the Domo side. That was my talk. Thank you so much, all, and hope you have a good build.
Amazing, Mayor. Thank you so much for joining us. Understanding in a little more detail how this agent-to-agent architecture can be created between Domo and Snowflake, I think is really appreciated by our audience, because as I said, we have a ton of Snowflake fans in the Domoverse. So appreciate you jumping on, Mayor, and we will post this content. Everyone, please make sure to go reference it as you're engaging with both Snowflake and Domo, and we appreciate it.
Cool.
We told you this was going to be the Domo Build event, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to dig in the details. We wanted to kind of pull back the covers and show you how these things are done and how they can be done. And we've talked a lot about, I would say the tactical and practical side of AI, talked about the data foundation, different use cases around activation and distribution. But one of the things I'm excited about in this next presentation is, how do you become an AI first company? How do you put that in your DNA? Forever we've talked about BI adoption. Well, now it's AI adoption. And so in this next session, I'd like to welcome Ben McClave, who's a principal business intelligence architect at Yum Brands. He will share how one of the world's largest restaurant companies is making the shift to becoming an AI first enterprise. And you'll learn how Yum is rapidly testing new features and scaling AI adoption and creating a repeatable model for continuous innovation. Now, Ben will be joined by, again, a couple of my favorite Domo Sapiens, Sharon Allard and Will West. And now we will welcome them to the stage and turn the time over to them. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Wow. 500 apps from your announcement at Domopalooza. Well, it's just been an amazing experience with our customers. And I can tell you that 500 apps started at 5 a.m. in the morning when Will called me and said, I have a great idea.
Yeah, a little bit too much coffee that morning. And what a wonderful experience. We had 166 different use cases that came in, and a lot of wonderful accounts, Ben, your team included, where it was just, there's a hunger out there where everyone just wants to dive into what feels like the hottest thing going on right now. Some of my favorite use cases were custom apps that we use to drive data science melded together with sales teams and drive sales together and help the teams prep on a Monday for how they should approach the market. And then Yum is an example where we're looking at how to make it so that the team has less cross-departmental reliance and the ability to essentially like in-house things and speed the organization up. And just the process of all of that was such a wonderful experience. Sharon, did you have any that stood out to you that you thought were your favorite?
Yeah, the one that stood out for me really was what Ben's request was. It was about doing rapid development, doing AI first transformation in his organization. And he was kind enough to share his vision about AI first in his company. And so that was absolutely my favorite. And we asked him to come today to talk about that vision. So Ben, I'm going to turn it over to you. And if you could tell us a little bit about how this got started and what your vision has been for Yum.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I appreciate the invite to come and talk with you all. When I heard that you all were planning to build 500 apps, It was like finding the magic lamp and rubbing it, and the genie comes out and grants your wishes, you know. And so what do you do when the genie first comes out of the lamp? You ask for more wishes. And that's what I did. Instead of saying, you know, hey, I want this one app. How about if I get an app that builds apps so I can get infinite wishes, you know? And so I imagine that like most teams, when they saw the 500 app challenge, were like, oh, I want a dashboard and I want a summary and I want this thing that makes this task better. And that honestly is a really sensible ask, right? Like that's something you can turn on Monday morning. You have something practical and it's built for a purpose. You can put it into practice today. But what we wanted was something more repeatable as a model, something that not only solves a need today, but can continue to solve needs going forward. So we needed something that lets people do something in a fraction of the time. And it has to work across all of our brands. You see in the chat, we have KFC, Taco Bell, Habit Burger, Pizza Hut. I need to be able to flip a switch and change the branding, the look and feel on an instant. And that's something that Domo has to do too, right? So we didn't set out necessarily to find creative uses of AI. We weren't a hammer looking for a nail. We set out to kill bottlenecks in our operation to become more efficient. And it turns out that AI is a great way to do that. As a leader in a BI space, for example, I have a bottleneck that I'm sure you all can relate to. It's like Bill Yoss' take on if you give a mouse a cookie. As soon as you build the dashboard wireframe, an executive is going to ask for more features and more features and more features. And what happens is when your development cycle is kind of slow, that gives them more time to ideate, the scope can creep, it kind of gets out of hand. So what we did is we didn't point the AI to the easy thing, summing up a meeting. We pointed it to the hard thing, the design. We take the transcript from our call with the stakeholders where they describe what they want. We take the visuals that they reacted well to, the visuals they didn't react well to. And just like our first speaker, we give AI all the context and we have it then set to the task of building the wireframe. And it can turn it around so fast and from so many different angles that I was surprised at how good the outcome was. I can give it that prompt, all that context, and say, you know what, now you're a UX designer, critique this dashboard. Now you're a chief operator, critique this dashboard. And each iteration made it that much better. And it's all done behind the scenes in a chat window. We can handle it asynchronously with the feedback. And by the time we get to the second meeting, instead of talking about concepts, we're getting sign off on the final product. And that's where Domo really comes in and brings it to the ultimate kind of last step for us. Because we can take React dashboards and go to the Pro Code Builder, we can take that wireframe and deploy it very quickly and easily relative to how we used to do. And that becomes then our actual infinite wish is, can we just take us out of the process altogether? Can Domo build an app where a user goes in and describes what it is that they want to build? And Domo knows from our skills that we bring how to do it the Yum way, how to make it a KFC branded app with KFC red or Taco Bell purple, the layouts we prefer, the design aesthetic. And so we bring our skills, we bring our design system to Domo, and Domo does what it does best, surfaces it in an app with real data, governance, security, and all of that. And of course, none of this is new. Like you could have done this with humans 10 years ago, and that's how we had to do it more than 10 years ago. But it would take a designer, a BI team, engineers, a ton of long meetings, lots of iteration. And now we can accelerate that thing. And in essence, our one app is your genie in a bottle for all your BI needs for any other company.
Yeah,
Thank you, Ben.
The call out I would make too, Ben, and as I've talked with you and the team, is like the mentality that you guys have in this moment where everyone's kind of looking around and trying to figure out how do we use AI. We're being asked to use AI. We're being compelled. I think you and the team have it built in, so it's a little bit different for you. It seems like you're just naturally driven into it. You know, if I could just, they're going to give me the cane any second, but if you could just give us like what's one hot tip you would give to everyone on the call, just like how do you install that as an organization, or like how do you pour gasoline on that fire? Because we can build custom apps, but I think the culture itself that you've built for your team internally is what impresses me the most and makes me like excited to work with you every time we do.
Absolutely. I think, you know, People, when they see what it's capable of and how much time that it can save, but not just individually, but for the process, it becomes infectious. I mean, Levi on my team is brilliant. He's been with Domo forever. He knows a ton about this. I got a message from him at 1 a.m. Hey, I just finished connecting this new wireframe to a Domo data set. Another guy on the chat was like, you and Ben need to go to bed earlier because like it's infectious. As soon as you kind of see what's possible. And the best thing that I can tell you to do is to just ask AI itself how to do it. I started with the end in mind. I said, I would love to be able to just do X, Y, or Z. Is there a way to do that? And the AI can tell you, create the plan, walk you through. And so I just have it set up sessions. I told it, hey, look, I have about an hour to dedicate a day. So let's create a work plan and let's chunk this off. Do this, the low risk, high reward stuff first. If I build an AI agent skill that can build a wireframe and I never get it past wireframe stage, I've still saved a ton of time in my workflow. I give a better brief to my team. I get sign off from stakeholders much earlier, and it doesn't have to go all the way to Bright of connecting it to real data. But if it does, that much the better. And I just keep chipping away at it an hour at a time. It teaches me as I go.
Love it. Thanks, Ben. Sharon, what do you got? Or Matt?
Yeah, Matt, back to you.
Awesome. You guys, Ben, I think you took me into Inception a little bit, you know, the app that builds the app. It reminds me of that Elon Musk quote, you know, build the machine that builds the machine.
Yes.
And so super interesting to just consider, like, what is the key to AI adoption? Sure, you could train everybody how to do it, but building an AI machine that enables them to do that, really, really interesting, really cutting edge. Ben, we appreciate you jumping on. Will and Sharon, we appreciate you joining as well. Our 500 apps project was a really fun project to see if we could really, in 30 days, build all customer requested apps. And I think what's amazing about it is exactly, Ben, what you shared is this discovery process is totally different. PRDs and BRDs, like all of that changes. Just start meeting with your people, recording what they want, insert it into AI, and I think everybody's going to be blown away, as you have, with what's possible. Ben, thanks for joining us. Sharon, Will, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's keep this train rolling. We're about an hour in. I just want to remind everybody that shortly we are going to post a ton of online content, even more sessions than what you're seeing here. So please make sure that you go there. We'll put a link here in the chat so you know where to go. In this next session, I want to bring on one of my favorite people of all time, Mr. Cassidy Hilton. He doesn't need too much of an introduction, but he has an interesting role where he's not only the vice president of technology partnerships, so super ingrained with, you know, our partners like Google and Databricks and Snowflake, but he also runs our solution engineering team. And he has a long history of being in the data science and machine learning world. So he has never been more excited to be alive in this AI world overall. And I think what he's going to show us today is the opportunity that you have to start to reduce tool sprawl using Domo. And specifically, we have a great example with project management and how to bring some project management tools in-house into Domo directly into your workflows. Cassidy, take it away.
Thank you, Matt. I'm going to share out my screen here. Can everybody see my screen, please? So thanks for being here. Quick bit about me. As Matt said, I'm Cassidy. I've been in the AI and ML space for over a decade now, but of late, I'm a little obsessed with one thing. And that one thing is making AI genuinely dependable to build with. So over the next 7 minutes, I'll walk you through the method that I have kind of authored and run on every single project and show you where Cursor, in this case, makes it real. So let's get into it. So let's start with something I think we've all felt. We're all vibe coding now, right? According to a recent GitHub survey, 84% of devs are using AI now. Nearly half the code is AI generated, and it feels amazing right up until it doesn't. What I mean is a working demo isn't necessarily a working product. Essentially, the vibe coder prompts straight to code and ultimately is shipping on sand. And it slides off its foundation the first time a real load hits. The agentic engineer, on the other hand, builds the foundation first with context, with specs, rules, testing. You really can't prompt your way out of a missing foundation. And that's the line spec-driven development draws. Okay, so if that's the problem, here's how I actually build that foundation. This is a method that I authored going on a year ago now and have kind of honed since then. It's essentially 5 core stages, and I follow these stages or these steps truly on just about everything I build nowadays. More to come on that. First step is context. So I'll pull in the raw material, kind of like Ben said. You know, that could include context around gong calls, or I often will use deep research with Perplexity and so on. From there, I'll get into the requirements stage where I'm ultimately distilling that into the real problem and the various constraints. Once I have the requirements drawn up, I'll shape it, where essentially I separate the problem from the solution and choose an approach before any code is written, even if it's done by the agent. Then I'll generate an engineering or sprint-based plan, and I'll turn that shape into a governed build with rules, GitHub commits, automated and full-on human UAT, and then we'll execute across, various parallelized cursor agents, which build it literally phase by phase or slice by slice. And honestly, the thing that makes all 5 work is sitting right underneath. It's the skills, the context, and the engine. So that engine is where the real leverage hides. So let me just show you quickly here out to left. I was going to demonstrate this for you live, but in the interest of time, just go with me on this. So I'll drop in a Perplexity deep research report, and you can kind of see that there top left, right? That could be a PDF, a markdown file, etc. And any additional context that I might have, again, Ben gave some mentions of this. It could be Gong transcripts or anything else that I can leverage with regard to the context around the problem. And I'll essentially prompt in cursor and say, go out, use your shaping skill, and come back with, the various approaches that we could take here. And you can see out to right is the various libraries, in air quotes, that I have at my dismay, and many of you probably have as well, to include, Domo skills that my team and I and the broader engineering team here at Domo have authored. Also things like the Databricks skill sets, the AI dev kit that they just dropped, Figma specific skills that we've honed over time with regard to Domo assets and so on. But the general methodology never rederives how we work. So one thing that I wanted to touch on just very quickly, which I'm finding is kind of a new concept to many, is the idea of shaping. So I'll often invoke this shaping skill in, the initial stages of my development process. So let's slow down on actually what is happening here, because it's a step that most people skip, but it is invaluable. It's a reusable methodology that really teaches the agent the exact process that we want to follow here. So we'll capture requirements, draft and compare solution shapes, and run fit checks, spike the unknowns, and then ultimately slice out the work. So on this slide, you can see requirement 0, 1, and 2. They're all separated out, right? And they're separated out by shapes A, B, C, and so on. The fit check will score each shape against every requirement, and a flagged unknown fails until a spike resolves it. So in the initial phases, the agent will say, hey, here are various spikes that I don't have answers to yet. Can we work through these together so that I can ultimately come up with a comprehensive plan that is fully bulletproof? So then I'll cut small, reasonable slices, And every decision is traceable in the master doc, which we will generate. So now that it's shaped, the question many people will ask is, how do you let agents actually build it without the whole thing just going off the rails, right? This feels really, really big. Well, the answer is rules. Strategically placed rules, architected rules that are essentially a living master doc that entails small commits, automated checks against the spec, and a human UAT gate. And this human UAT gate is invaluable as it pertains to making sure that A, I remain the expert on the solution that I'm building, but B, everything is working as expected as we continue to develop it over its life cycle. So the agents run the plan, the rules keep them honest. Now, here's the part that genuinely surprised even me as I've continued to leverage this, process it, and hone it over the last year or so. None of this is just for code anymore. As I've honed this methodology over the last year or so, I've found that the exact same pattern can actually be used to build apps, research docs, decks, marketing assets, etc., including this very deck that I'm showing you all here today, which was shaped, planned, and built the very same way, leveraging Cursor, Figma, and some of the Domo specific skills that my team and I have authored. So in closing, I don't want you to take my word for it. Let me actually show you 4 real builds. These are more recent to me. 1 spine every time. Context and specs in, products shipped out. Okay. First, the TDR app, or Deal Inspect. This is an app that prioritizes which deals truly need a technical review and then runs the whole review with live account intel and AI chat, all powered by Snowflake and Cortex. That one came together in a 52-week sprint. Secondly, a Digit Asia Intelligence Hub. This one came together in about 27 minutes, if I remember right. It pulls fragmented fintech data into one executive picture of partners, risk, and market share, and an AI agent that surfaces the next cross-sell. Then the Revenue Command Center. This is a Databricks specific solution. This one took us, about 5 days. Our deepest Databricks build yet. Leaders watch renewal risk live from the lakehouse, ask Genie why it moved, and approve AI recommended saves that write straight back into Unity Catalog. And then finally, the 4th proof. As I had mentioned, you're looking at it. This deck was shaped, planned, and built the exact same way. So if you take just one thing away from all this, let it be this: context in, governed outcomes out. The same method, every project. And it genuinely pays off. Faster upstream work, far fewer hot fixes and rollbacks. Trust me on this. My ask is simple. Next time, open Cursor or your IDE of choice, invoke a shaping skill, and build on a foundation instead of prompting straight into the sand. Thank you.
Cassidy, thank you so much. As advertised, my friend, I think this is definitely going to be one that we're going to go back to and look at every slide and read it. Governance is such a huge part of this whole thing, right, Cassidy? And so it's really important to be thoughtful about the rules and the skills that you employ in these agentic solutions to make them bulletproof. Cassidy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Matt.
You bet. The other thing that I loved is customer choice, right? We're living in a world where all these technologies are going to integrate together, right? It was mentioned in the chat, CLI and MCP, all of these different tools to allow agents and AI to interact in a way that's more productive overall. So Figma, Cursor, Cortex, Domo, all this stuff is coming together to make truly impactful solutions for your business. And we encourage you to get started as soon as you can. Now, I had mentioned this next use case early, and I think it's really, really cool. So what happened is Amanda Hull, Senior Vice President and CFO at Massman Companies, was working with one of our forward deployed engineers at Domo, and her team went through and identified a massive operational bottleneck in their business. And this bottleneck was related to their PO process. And so effectively with one agent, they were able to remove over 2,400 man hours of work a year by employing this agent. So without further ado, I want to introduce Amanda Hull, SVP and CFO of Massman Companies, as well as David Sawyers.
There you go. There we go. Sorry about that. We'll start over. Good morning, everyone. I'm Amanda Hull, Chief Financial Officer of Massman Companies, and I want to start with a question. How many of you spend part of your day doing work you know a computer should be doing? This might be copying information from one system to another, reconciling spreadsheets, maybe it's reviewing documents by line. Now, I have a confession to make. In my entire career, I've never met a buyer who woke up excited to reconcile purchase order confirmations. Nobody dreams of comparing PDFs to ERP records all day, yet companies everywhere pay highly skilled people to do exactly that. And as CFO, I don't worry about whether our people are working hard. I know they are. What I worry about is talented people spending time on work that does not create value. And that's where our mantra came from. Automate what you hate. At Massman, we help manufacturers automate packaging lines. We build machines that put products into cartons, cartons into cases, and cases onto pallets. Every day, we ask our customers, why are people still doing this manually? It turns out that's a pretty good question to ask ourselves, too. At Massman, one of those processes was purchase order confirmation review. A purchase order confirmation is sent by a supplier to confirm details such as pricing, quantities, delivery dates, and shipping information. The buyer then has to reconcile that confirmation against the original order to ensure everything matches. It's important work, but important doesn't necessarily mean manual. We had highly capable employees spending valuable time validating documents instead of solving problems, which led us to the simple question, what if AI could do it for us? That question became a hackathon project that we affectionately named the PO Confirmabulator 3000. In hindsight, we should have thought of an easier name to say. So meet the PO Confirmabulator 3000. This tool uploads supplier confirmations, extracts the relevant information, compares it against NetSuite records, identifies discrepancies, and prepares approved transactions for processing. Rather than requiring a buyer to review every confirmation, the goal is to create an exception-based workflow where people focus only on the records that need attention. And as Will noted, based on our current transaction volumes, we estimate this could save 2,400 hours annually, roughly the equivalent to 1 to 1.5 full-time employees, while improving processing speed and reducing manual effort. The most impressive part of this is we did this in less than 24 hours. So why is this important? As CFO, everyone expects me to focus on the savings. And yes, saving 2,400 hours annually is meaningful. That's real capacity that we've returned to the business. But that's not what excites me most. The second benefit is speed. Instead of discovering discrepancies days later through manual review, issues can be identified and addressed much earlier in the process. This means faster resolution, fewer surprises, and a better experience for both our teams and our customers. And the biggest opportunity is really, what can we do with the time that we get back? Instead of spending hours validating documents, our people can focus on supplier relationships, exception management, problem solving, and decision making. The goal isn't simply to save time. The goal is to redirect time towards higher value added work. And so that's really what automate what you hate means. Let technology handle the repetitive work so that people can focus on the work that creates value. So that's an overview of the tool that we built. We brought David Sawyers from the Domo team here to help look under the hood and tell us how we can make this happen. Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everyone. My name is David Sawyers. I'm a principal technical consultant here at Domo, as well as a member of the AI solutioning and architecture team. Amanda just walked you through what this tool does for the business. I get the pleasure of spending a few minutes explaining the how, specifically the Domo building blocks that make it work, because every single piece of this application is a native Domo offering. There's really 4 moments where the magic happens. The first
is on file upload. Everything that happens inside this custom app is built with Domo's Pro Code asset library and acts as the user interface for the whole solution. When someone drops a vendor PDF into the app, it goes straight into a Domo document collection, Domo's native file library. The moment it lands there, a Domo workflow fires automatically. That workflow is going to be the orchestration engine for everything that follows. The second is extraction. The workflow hands that file to a Domo AI agent built inside Domo's AI library. That agent's first job is to read the PDF using an image-to-text tool. It reads every page and pulls out all the structured fields, including PO number, expected delivery date, ship to address, and every single line item, including quantities, rates, amounts, and part numbers. This allows for a self-correcting behavior. It's not pattern matching against a template. The agent is actually reasoning through the document the way a person would, and it knows when something looks off. The third is comparison. Once it has those values, the agent runs a SQL query against a Domo dataset that's synced live from NetSuite. In this instance, it's going to be our source of truth. It compares every field line by line. Any quantity mismatches, rate differences, or part number discrepancies are surfaced and flagged with a severity level. It writes the full comparison result to a Domo's AppDB, which is what the app reads to display the variance report. This is surfaced back to the user that's implementing or ingesting those PDF files. The fourth is vendor communication. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied today. When the reviewer is ready to reach out, they trigger an email workflow. Domo's AI text generation drafts the email automatically based on the specific discrepancies that were surfaced. A human reviews it, approves it, and then Domo sends it, keeping a human in the loop, but all the heavy lifting is already done. And just remember, this entire solution was built over about a 24-hour hackathon. So the full stack, you have an asset library app, document collection, workflow, an AI agent with image to text and SQL, AppDB, and AI text generation for the outbound communication. All of these are native Domo offerings, and all of these features allow you to automate what you hate.
Amazing. Amanda, we've had some incredible quotes today, I think all throughout, but right now you guys take the cake, automate what you hate. I think that's going to stick for sure. And you know what's amazing to me is in 24 hours, in less than 24 hours, you were able to automate 2,400 hours of work. That's pretty incredible. So Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you walking us through your solution. I think something very applicable for all of our customers on the call today. And David, appreciate you coming on as well.
No problem.
All right, as we move into our next use case, this one I think was super interesting. Ultimate Medical sought out to build the perfect sales meeting. So the perfect sales meeting requires what? It requires preparation. It requires knowing who your audience is, what you're going to pitch, coordination. And so what happened is Curtis Villiaw, global product manager at Ultimate Medical, is going to show you how he used AI to transform the sales preparation process. And what he's going to walk through is bringing together CRM data, transaction data, customer data, all into one place using AI to create what he calls an instant meeting brief to ensure that they have a perfect sales meeting. So with that, let me introduce Curtis Villiaw. Thanks, Curtis. Take it away.
There we go. Thank you. There we go. All right. So pleasure to be here. So thank you for that introduction. I am Curtis Villiaw. I am the global product manager for Ultimate Medical. At Ultimate Medical, we're a complex rehab technology manufacturer. We provide equipment to the CRT industry that includes standing devices, adaptive mobility, positioning equipment, and diagnostic tables. So we have a huge product portfolio that spans over 6 brands. So what that means is when you have that many brands and you're the product manager, I was dealing with a lot of spreadsheets. So my presentation is going to be more so the journey and then AI being the hero at the end. But starting out, we had, just as I'm sure many of you had, was massive amounts of spreadsheet data, spreadsheet after spreadsheet. We did inherit NetSuite, which is our ERP, and we became Domo users about 2 years ago. So it was a huge lift for Domo to be our business intelligence, with helping us with dashboards. We later moved to apps. But let me transition this slide because I only have 10 minutes and I get super excited for some of the things that AI has done for me through Domo. So basically, I was dealing with data mining, and it was just the manual grind of everything. The spreadsheets were just becoming a sea of just confusion. They provided great data with one view, but often I would get in a meeting and someone would just want one more view of a data set that was not captured in that particular pivot table. So, of course, the response was, yeah, no problem, I can do that. But inside, I was like, oh my goodness, that took me 3 hours just to get this. So, one of the things that I learned, like the slide that is up here, just shows a lot of confusion, a lot of things going on at one time, because that is where I was. So, I was doing all these spreadsheets and I would get buried in just a repetitive task, right? So data mining, not really getting good results. No one had a clear vision when we left these meetings. All they had were like fragmented visions through multiple spreadsheets. That left not only me frustrated because I was the one digging through all the data, but it really left the person frustrated that had one question that they wanted answered because they were not able to get a clear picture. So a lot of time was lost with being inefficient. So with that comes what we really had to do to really pull back the layers to see, like, what are these spreadsheets really telling us, right? So, as you can see in the illustration, the more tasks that you add onto a pivot table, the harder it is to identify exactly what you're trying to see when you're trying to do this to 50 people that are in the room that may have 50 different questions, right? So the more tasks you get, the smaller the information becomes, the less valuable it becomes. So now, this is the beautiful part. I visited Domo Palooza for the first time this year. I got super hyped. I was up in my hotel probably, I think, like 2 nights. I may have gotten 2 or 3 hours of sleep. But the one thing that sparked me was they introduced me to ProCode, which was amazing, that I could actually build an app because I'm a non-technical person. I do not know code. So ProCode really helped me create this huge, endless, knowledge base of all the things that were on my wish list. And now I could really do it, right? So I won't go through the time of going through all the little manual things that are on this spreadsheet everybody can read on there. So I'm just going to go straight into the app. I just want to share my screen to make the best use of this time to show you pretty much what the end result was. So I did want to share one quote though. Data turns sales from guesswork into a repetitive growth engine. I quoted that. I even checked with Claude to make sure nobody else has quoted that. So I can actually coin this phrase. So because that is what we were doing. We were turning guesswork into a repeatable growth engine, because now the data is being displayed in a uniform fashion that we can actually see trends, we can see forecasting, we can see the loopholes, we can see the gaps that we could not see through all of these spreadsheets. So what this did, it turned me into a super product manager with an AI assistant. So I'm going to stop sharing my presentation so we can get directly into the app. Okay. There we go. So now, this is the actual app, and I'm going to take you through a little journey with the app. So the first day of Domo Palooza, I went back to the hotel room, and I'm hoping everyone can see my screen. But I went back to the hotel room I built this app the first night. Had no clue what I was doing. I was just following pro code, and it really helped me out. And the next day I spent probably 3 hours in the Brilliance Bar with them, helping me kind of go through some tweaks. So what this shows is this gives a clear picture of we have 50 plus sales reps in the field. It shows what their goals are for the year. It shows their progress to the goal. It also has a quarterly trend, which is like a 12-week trend. It shows if they're on track or off track for obtaining that goal for the year. But the cool part is we didn't stop there. That was just one piece of the puzzle. The second piece was, hey, that's great. We don't have really good insights to tell us, like, where do we focus? So what we've done now, I was able to, through an ETL, I was able to get a report to go to the sales managers that broke this down and filtered it by the top 3 lagging accounts. It gives a top overview of whether the sales reps are growing, if they're flat, or if they're behind, just basically their pace. And it shows where they should be for the year. So the thing that this does, it gives them 3 accounts to focus on, and it gives them the actual product to focus on. But it does not stop there. That still did not give us the insights that we were looking for. So we went once again to AI. And this is what we did. We created an insight. The same data, now I can actually see the insight. The column on the left is where basically the contributing factors as to why the account is at the place it is today currently. And suggested activities is on the right. Things that we can do to get this account to the satisfactory growth level. So feeding this in the background with the knowledge base is not only our inventory data, our sales quote data, there's population data, or population trend data for all the zip codes that we sell into. There is reimbursement data. We have our trade show, our education, even the demos that we have in the field. All of these factors are contributing to the impact level on this account performance. So we're able to give our sales team insights into the performance. We're able to have them leave the room with tools that they could use to actually make an impact on that account, as well as forecasting for them. So this is probably 90% complete because, as you know, the more we grow, the more our knowledge base grows, and the more we can provide our sales team. So hopefully the next time I can show you an even more updated insight. And there we go. Thank you.
All right, Curtis, thank you so much. That was awesome. We love your energy. You got a lot of fans out there. We appreciate you walking us through the solution that you built. And you know what I think is so awesome is forever, me, I've worked in Domo for over a decade, and you're using a lot of quantifiable data, right? You're working in numbers. And now with AI, we can bring in all that qualitative information, and you can pair that qualitative information with the quantitative information. And as you created, and as everybody saw, you can make some real magic with that. Just-in-time insights to AEs and field reps about what they should do, when they should do it with their customers. That's pretty amazing. So awesome, Curtis. We appreciate you jumping on. Now, this next presentation is awesome. I'm going to introduce Thomas Riley, who just jumped on. This is how this adventure started for me. I got an email from someone internally, Thomas, and it said, the coolest event ever, right? Thomas had met with some of our folks at Domo and started to learn some of these AI first techniques. And what he's going to do today is show us how he's applied these AI first building techniques to take Excel and move it into a live sales ROI calculator app in Domo for Caraloop. So Thomas, I'll get out of your way. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. And yeah, you're exactly right. You teed that up perfectly. So we're going to start sharing the little presentation here about how we went from a spreadsheet to a sales app. And Matt hit the point on the head that we had an old static ROI workbook that we needed to elevate. We needed to make it better. You've heard some incredible presentations so far today about really complex use cases, really high touch, difficult agentic solutions that are solving lots of problems. We just had to get started over here at CareLoop, especially speaking to our smaller companies out there like CareLoop, where we are just trying to balance everything on our plates every day and identify ways to make these things better. And Domo AI swooped in and is the hero of our story in this case. As mentioned, I am TC Riley, Senior Director of Data and Analytics at CareLoop. We are a caregiving services and backup care provider in the B2B space. I encourage you to check out our website, learn more about all the awesome things that we are doing. But I like to simply sum it up as we help people that help people. So if that's something you want to learn more about, let us know. But let's set the stage for what we're talking about. A few years ago, problem dropped on my desk that we need to elevate our value story. Kind of talking about soft stories, showing great examples get you so far, but we need to be able to update what we are trying to accomplish here and really take it to another level in terms on the return of investment we're showing our prospects. Address the financial elements of this, productivity, turnover, avoidance, things of that nature. And we needed something that reps could use in the field, drive prospects down the sales funnel. We needed something that was readily shareable with external prospects. It was ready for a CFO. It was ready for a procurement team. And one unique thing that we did is that we really wanted to buck the trend that we kind of saw sometimes in our industry. We wanted to be overly transparent. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's no curtains. There's nothing behind this. We want to show you exactly how we're doing this. And we were able to accomplish some of those goals when we started as a spreadsheet. Curtis says it was triggering some of my PTSD with spreadsheets on spreadsheets on spreadsheets because we are right there with them. One workbook, 8 tabs, many, many versions. It's out of date by this week. You open one up, I'm not even sure what version this is I'm using. Another big pain point here, reps couldn't run this thing live. ROI showed up days after the call, not during it. The client gets excited, starts hearing about the ROI they could get by partnering with us. They forget about it for a few days until it lands in their inbox. Also, this is a ticket in my team's queue. My team's not advancing. We're not doing cool things. We're just pumping out workbook after workbook after workbook. It's not a great use of our time, and it's still not meeting the needs we have. And I mentioned we're trying to build around transparency. I say that, and then I deliver a workbook that has so many hidden tabs and cells and formulas that it kind of was behind the curtain still. It wasn't very clear. When you really started to use this thing, you quickly recognized, you say this is transparent, TC, but I'm not so sure that it is, and it's a valid critique. At the end of the day, you can put lipstick on an Excel workbook, but it's still an Excel workbook. Of course, that's where the data guy goes first, but that doesn't mean that's where we should really be spending all of our time. Got a picture here. You can see something that probably reminds you of some terrible spreadsheet that you used in the early 2000s in your career. It did the trick. There's a lot of cool information here, but I'm not going to lie and say that this even looks good to me. It's my baby, and I'm not going to call my baby ugly, but I'm not going to call it pretty either in this case. It did the trick, but when we saw this out in the market, what we were consistently seeing, I got some live reactions from our team and prospects as to how they reacted to this. And there's our sales team trying to use this thing. There's our prospects being absolutely bewildered as I click through tab after tab after tab, trying to explain what the heck I'm even talking about. And there's me crying because we built something cool. We built something transparent. The math was good behind this thing. It made sense. And no one was really getting it. We weren't able to make this happen. So what do? Well, we decided to rebuild it in Domo. We is doing a lot of heavy lifting in this title of this slide. I'd say we, but I would be taking 99% of the credit away where it's actually due to the Domo team. This was part of that 500 apps challenge it's been talked about. Came to them with this problem, explained all this. In a matter of days, we took something that had been sitting on the side of my desk eating a hole at me for years. Built a dynamic branded ROI calculator right within Domo. The prospect details are right there. Live value models right there. We'll show it here in a second. A lot of presets, make it very easy. And it's simple enough that our team could use it on the fly. There's not some massive training necessary with this. It's straightforward. Anyone can use this thing. And there's no more tickets, no more queues. This isn't waiting until days after the call. It's ready to go right there. We're transparent, we're customizable, and we're ready to share this and get it in the hands of the prospect now. The timeliness element was so important here, getting this ready to go. With that, I'm going to quickly pop over and share my screen to show you guys. I'm going to stop sharing that. You're going to have to look at my ugly mug for 2 seconds here. And there's the app. That's much prettier to look at. Let's do that instead. With that, with this ROI calculator, the way that this operates, it's clean, it's easy, it's simple. Doesn't this look much better than the Excel workbook from your nightmares? Input any information you need. A lot of presets here. This thing's almost ready to go right off the bat. We have adjustable filters and toggles for different things like different durations, whatever we're customizing for a prospect in terms of the details, we're ready to go. Additionally, the transparency, using these kind of industry benchmarks, but letting you overwrite them, they're all here. You can see exactly what we're doing, where we're getting it from, why we're using this, but we also tell you and encourage you, change these up, fight us on this. That's where we're wrong, let's do it. We maintain that transparency. Rather than having tabs and tabs of math that, while they were transparent, were also a nightmare to look at, see the pretty picture and see the easy number, or understand exactly where it's coming from. It's all right here. It's interactive and it's a click away. Ready to go for the value elements here. Again, these numbers that the CFO is really looking at, trying to relate into their terms, we're ready to go. Even adding in fun things like, hey, if you're a rep on a call, here's your pitch to this. If you can't sell the value of the story, if you can't effectively transmit it, it doesn't matter how cool the tool is, how good the math is, it's not going to hit. We can make that happen here, right within here. And then one of my favorite elements of it, again, a click little link downloading this PDF. And we have a very clean, pretty PDF here that is ready to go. Everything you really need to know here on the first page, easy for a CFO to pick up, understand all the elements we're doing. You want to get meatier, you want to see the math, you want to see all the pieces into it, we have that too. But this thing's ready to go. The rep did this live. This thing's out the door before the call ends. It's not waiting for days and days within our queue. We're going to stop sharing the app there, and we're going to pop right back into our presentation here. And with that, to sum all this up, what this really unlocked, I mentioned at the beginning, this is something that sat on the side of my desk for days. It's not just about the value of this tool. I kind of hit on that, and hopefully that's been clear in the presentation this far. It's what it also unlocked bigger picture for us. Again, that live element, the prospects data being right there, being ready to go, and making the sales team the owner and experts of this thing. No longer the, I call the data phone a friend. Lifeline from the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire days. I don't need to explain this stuff. It's all here. You are the expert sales team. You are the leaders. You can go and do this, and you can have the confidence to speak to this. Let the prospects really understand that we as a company really get what we're doing here. We still have that visibility. We still have that transparency. It's not delivered days later. It's ready to go before the call even ends. Also, that version control, well, that's out the window now. I know I have to wonder, which password is this? Which version was this? Oh no, did I make this update in this version? And what that has unlocked, which is kind of the biggest piece for me and my team, our efforts are now turned to elevating the story. It's finding new opportunities to advance what we can do with a really small team for a growth stage company. We're not just pumping out workbooks. We're not stuck in a task list. It's apps on apps on apps is where we're going with this thing. Again, all credit to the Domo team for inspiring me, teaching me how to use some of this stuff that I probably was behind the eight ball on, behind the curve on. And we're doing now a client ROI workbook that's going to be live. A pricing calculator, something that's been stuck in an Excel workbook for years and years. Let's make this clean. Let's make this easy for everyone to use. Coverage maps for our new backup care offerings. All of it in Domo. A lot of this fed from actual data within Domo. It's really unlocked what we've been able to accomplish. And I'll end this by summing up. Build for the moment the conversation happens. Prepare as you're thinking about this AI, not only what it can do on the back end, but how these end users are going to use it, what value you're truly going to unlock, and how you're going to be able to accomplish that.
TC, unbelievable job. I think my favorite comment, and you're going to love this in the chat, is from Sean Thompson, who's up next, actually. Is it wrong to call a report sexy? I think you would say it is not wrong. TC, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you showing us your use case. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
You know, one thing I always say is, you know, data is equal science as it is art. And I think as it relates to data literacy and helping people engage with data, it has to be beautiful. So I love to see that use case from TC, and I love all the beautiful apps and agents that are being built with Domo every single day. All right, next up, I mentioned him earlier and just now. I want to introduce Sean Thompson. He's the Vice President of IT at Freddy's, and he's going to share how he transformed pricing governance from a manual process into an intelligent, always-on AI monitoring system. And not only did he build it, but he distributed it across hundreds and hundreds of stores at Freddy's. So Sean, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Matt. And I want to go back to what the previous speaker had said, because I can corroborate. You automate what you hate, but you don't want to innovate on a mess. You've got to understand that process. That's the real path to success. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. So let's get ready to remove the noise and clutter, simplification that reduces the fluster, because this approach is the clear way so that our teams can focus on serving delicious food and frozen custard to our guests every single day. So that's me. Things change over time. Context matters. I made sure I look a lot more dapper than I did in that picture, especially when I go off to a place like the Kentucky Derby. And that's what this is all about. It's learning about the context of the business situations and what we can build and put together that really answers those needs, not just assuming that you know what's going on. So quick background of what we're talking about at Freddy's Frozen Custard. 600 restaurants, we create special one-of-a-kind experiences in the daily lives of not only our team members, but of our guests and our communities. And part of that is making sure that we can serve food, that our systems just work right. 600 locations spread across the country, a couple up in Canada, tens of thousands multiplied over those 600, multiplied over all the delivery channels of every little price point. But we needed to find one single source of truth when it came to figuring out how much does an original double combo with fries and a drink cost. So we went to work. We built all this in Domo, and we built out a pricing center that does 4 things continuously across the system, but we iterated on that over and over and over again. So first off, auditing, detecting, then corrections, and then proving. So I told you what I'm going to tell you. Now let me actually get to the meat of this and tell you what's going on. So first thing, we had to go through a correction process. We had to understand that every price needed fixed. These all started originally keyed in by hand. And our first Domo build audited all of that, programmatically went in and corrected it so that every single price could match that single source of truth. Cool, we were done, right? Everything is right, move on in life. But then what we discovered was the truth wasn't what the truth was. Very confusing, lots of sleepless nights. The audit exposed that the source of truth itself was sometimes incorrect. So we had to fix the source data, rerun the correction cycle. Pricing governance has to cover it all, not only all that data, but then the operations that go behind that. So again, wrapping your head around all of that, it was just getting to the first step. And the first step was Domo Classic Ugly, big old table, lots of items, a lot of prices. But this, again, let us help us see what was going on. Let us know that the truth that we were getting back was not the full story. So absolutely critical, even when you start with something that's as butt ugly as that screenshot is. So now let's get into this phantom price problem we ran into. Any developer out there has probably experienced this once or twice where an API just straight up lies to you. Yeah, I did say butt ugly. We programmed the price, the API confirms it went live. Sometimes it never actually took. Doesn't make sense. That data drift was hiding right there in plain sight for us. And it would run sometimes where it was working for days and then it would just stop. No reason why. But it led us to this knowledge that, hey, we can never stop checking. Those continuous checks in Domo, catch those mismatches, correct it. And as soon as we started seeing that, we're like, well, why are we doing this over and over again when we can just let an agent run and take over that and make those fixes for us? So moving on, we just came up with this basic idea that if we can see it in the data, if we can present it, like this tool, which was amazing at the time for presenting to our teams, that same data that we can present to our teams, we can present to an agent and make them go out and do the fixes. Again, all of those pieces, everything was built there, and it was just wrapping all of that up in a layer of automation. From there, we found out that we were running into this ripple effect problem. So we would get everything correct in the point of sale. If you walked up to Grace, who's still one of our managers down at the South Wichita location, Grace could use the point of sale and make things go right. But then it was online ordering, going on to Freddy's.com, shameless plug, app and web, going into third-party marketplaces, boo, don't use those, looking at our digital menu boards, getting the print stuff done. You could go cross-eyed just staring at the print menu boards to check and make sure the prices are right. And those pricing errors, as James just pointed out, they were often in the wrong direction for the guests. Things were ending up getting priced too high. That's not what we wanted. We wanted to charge a fair price for really delicious food. We had done the math. We had gone through the exercises. We also have a pricing tool that's built out in Domo. We put all that work in there to keep going. But again, this ripple effect of everything that was downstream. So what we started to realize was, okay, if we have that downstream, we have that data coming in, let's let the bots keep working. Let's let these agents come to us and say, not only, hey, we can see where it's wrong here, we can see what's off on a date, but if it's there, again, if the humans can see it, then an agent can very simply see it and rock and roll with those. But you can start to see that that building of that momentum of that process comes into play. So last but not least, we get done with all of this. We have these scripts, these things are running, but agents, scripts, the Domo credits, none of that stuff in life is free. So we had to measure the return. We had to get the return on investment to prove out the tokenomics of it, which meant that we made sure everything was logged. We had our before and afters. That allowed us to easily attach a dollar value to every single fix over and over and over again, every single time that a change would get caught. And that ledger that we're building out there is what helps justify the cost of the credits and everything else out to the system. But more importantly, at least in my heart, was what we call that return on enterprise, where we also counted the fixes that nobody ever noticed. No one had to do manual war rooms and price sweeps and things like that. Instead of chasing prices, our teams are able to focus on the guest. That's a true return on enterprise. So when the pricing is out there and it's taking care of itself, our team members are able to take care of the guest. In this situation, it was myself and my daughter at a ball game enjoying some Freddy's. And again, those team members were lined up to take care of us and not worried about if those digital menu boards behind the scenes were doing things. Now, somebody had posted a question, three things. Make a cleanup system, not just a project. Again, automate what you hate. That's so true. Never trust the API. Trust what the business is actually telling you. And don't forget to measure that silence. If things are working, if we're generating all this stuff automatically, make sure there's some measurement of that. Silence is not compliance. That's a great place to go for. So on top of all of that, here's what I was about to get to. There's a QR code. Grab your phone, give that a quick scan. For everyone that's watching this live, you scan that, give me your email address. I will buy you lunch at Freddy's. So take advantage of that right now. We can leave this slide up as long as they want to leave slides up. Later, I'm going to change that QR code and it's going to go off to GitHub and we're going to post some sample code for everyone. So if you didn't tune in live, sure, you're getting some code, but you could have had food and code. So that's what you missed by not showing up live.
Sean Thompson, it is about lunchtime here in Utah, and you absolutely delivered. Freddie sounds awesome, and it's awesome to be able to see all of the intricacies that go behind how you price your stores. So congratulations on an incredibly intricate use case and being able to deliver it. Sean, thank you so much for joining us for Domo Build. All right, my friends, we are close. We have one final use case, and then we are going to get to awards. I know there's a question in the chat about awards overall. So our final use case is presented by Mark Mullane. Mark Mullane is the Director of Marketing at TR Miller, and he's going to show one of our most common use cases, how he is using AI to forecast. Now, what's interesting about this in that we talked about the 500 apps program, where we received over 150 requests by you at Domopalooza to build a new app. Well, the number one use case coming out of that was using AI to forecast. And that's exactly what Mark Mullane did. And he's using it, he's applying that to automating his dispatch process. So with that, Mark, you are our very last use case for the day. We give you the stage.
Cool. Thank you so much, Matt. Happy to be here. So,
Yeah, as he kind of introduced, this came out of the 500 apps with Domo, and our focus was really about how we can better prepare for dispatch for the forecast for the future. So, quick introduction. Yeah, my name is Mark Mullane, the Director of Marketing over at TR Miller Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. We're a residential home service company in the Chicago area. So, we really wanted to focus on finding an app that would help us solve some of the problems that have really like lasted within our industry for time immemorable, and that's being able to predict the future, right? Being able to predict the weather that's coming down the road. Because one thing that we realized is that, the weather station, say what you will, but they're relatively good at getting the weather right for the next week out. But one thing that we couldn't always get right is what impact that would have on our business. We were kind of using, old school methods in order to track that. And so, quick thing about the blue collar trades is that we kind of have a little bit of a reputation as being a little bit low tech. I don't think people think that we're cutting edge, and I think I want to dispel the myth about that at least a little bit with some of what we're going to share here. But I do understand where the stereotype comes from. My second day working at TR Miller 7 years ago, I was helping a team member, log into their Apple account, to get their new phone set up, and that was just kind of came with the territory, right? But what I realized was that like people's usage of tech might not necessarily be at a high level, at like a high IT level, but at the same time they were capturing tons of amazing data within their CRM and their systems, and it was really just a gap between capturing it and utilizing it. And the company had already started to utilize it in some really awesome ways. So the dispatch boards, how are we lining up technicians for the days with routing? How can we effectively get them from one job to the next with the least window time, we call it, where they're just driving around, not, helping a customer. Also, how are we tracking inventory? How are we measuring technician productivity? How are we, hitting our sales goals, our conversions, average tickets, everything like that. And so one of the things that we hadn't yet figured out then was how call volume swung hard with the weather. Whether it's, a heat wave, cold, freeze, breaks. We get this on the plumbing side, on the HVAC side. Everywhere is impacted by it. But we didn't necessarily know how to track it and forecast it with what's going to happen tomorrow. So this unpredictability cascades down into the business. So it impacts our pre-booking. We'll have spikes and crashes in what we prepare for with maintenances, as well as technician staffing whiplashes. One thing that we care a lot about is our technicians' work-life balance to make sure that they're happy in their role. And the one thing that we never want to be doing is calling someone on Saturday morning asking them to work today, because that's just a bad experience for them. And if it's a bad experience for them, it's going to be a bad experience for our customers. And just down the line, when that's something that we could have prepared for ahead of time. And then this also puts us in a position where marketing has to play catch up rather than getting ahead of the ball and knowing, what's going to be on the board next week. Where do we need to push marketing spend? Where do we need to pull it back? And so we built an AI app to forecast demand before it hit so our team can better plan and not just react. So looking at our Domo app here, we have basically planned out in the forecast, and this is just some demo data, but we have it forecasted out for the week, and it's all set up based on our historical data. So we have 8 years of data of how many repair calls we ran on each calendar day, as well as tying it into then weather APIs to pull in what the weather was on that day. And we can use that to accurately map out what the impact of the weather is going to be on a day-to-day basis. And then we use that as we look forward to the weeks ahead and say like, okay, for example, these past 2 weeks in Chicago, the weather's been surprisingly cold for June. It's been in the 70s. We've had some days in the 60s for Fahrenheit. And that means that ACs are not running. And if ACs aren't running, they're not breaking. And so what we did in a case like that, using a tool like this, we saw that demand was going to be down in the dumps. There's going to be no breaking equipment. So we loaded up our board with inspection calls instead. And these are preventative maintenance calls. So that way, when the heat does hit, these are calls that can be performed ahead of time. So that way customers are taken care of before they need it. And so that keeps our techs on the road, gives them hours, keeps them busy, keeps them helping our customers, driving revenue and achieving business outcomes, getting ahead of the ball. So that way, when the heat does come, hopefully our customers' equipment doesn't break. And then we've also ran all these inspections already, and then we can focus on the demand as it comes in. So sharing a little bit about kind of what we're able to look at, weather's really the major signal of what we're looking at. And we have so much back data of what that looks like that we're able to get relatively accurate projections of what the impact is going to be on a day-to-day basis. Some really interesting things that the AI model can take into account is stuff that we kind of knew inherently at TR Miller, just having been in the trades for years, but didn't really have figured out how to mathematically model it out. And so, for example, with that is that 80 degrees isn't just 80 degrees. The impact is different depending on when in the year that hits. An 80-degree day in May means that it's probably going to be the first time that a lot of homeowners are turning on their ACs, and that's where you get the first startup breaks, and there's a big spike there. 80 degrees in August usually has almost no impact. And so we can't just look at and model it out that, hey, the weather at this degree means this repair, because it's extremely different. It's also different on weekends, on holidays. All of these things impact how likely people are to call us and how many techs we need to bring in. And that's where it all kind of comes down to, is how many techs do we need to bring in order to serve our customers and serve our community the best that we can. And so on the last section here, we have our staffing requirements and our staffing recommendations. And so once again, this is just demo data, but we use this actively to say, like, okay, we know that Saturday it's going to be hot. How many calls do we expect to get? How many technicians do we need to schedule? So that way we can be having those conversations with them on Monday, that they shouldn't be making plans for Saturday, versus Friday night, Saturday morning, giving them a call and asking them to come in. This is hugely impactful because we're trying to create a system where technicians are well aware of what their expectations are, where they know what their week's going to look like and what the impact is going to be. And what's been really cool is seeing the results of this kind of like better forecasting is having the impact on our team members. So one of the most important metrics that we track is our retention rate. Technicians are extremely hard to find. They're a rare commodity to have experienced technicians. So retention rate is one of our key KPIs. And so for our HVAC service team, we are at over an 80% retention rate, and a huge portion of that goes out to work-life balance. That means that we're keeping techs busy when it's slow, and we're not overworking them when it is busy. And that way they can balance their hours, balance their stress, balance their work and their life, and make sure that they're happy being where they are. The other impact that this has is on our demand calls and for our repair calls that we get for ACs, for furnaces, for things like that. And so the biggest contributor to that is our cancellation rate. If we have a high cancellation rate, then that means that we were ill-equipped to handle the demand that came in. But if we have a low cancellation rate, that means that we were very well prepared to handle that and take care of it. And so what we've seen is just this past June, last year we were sitting at about an 18% cancellation rate. It was a very hot, very spiky June for the repair calls that came in. And there were definitely days where we weren't well enough prepared for those spikes through our forecasting. And we actually saw our cancellation rate increase versus years prior. Versus this year, our cancellation rate's sitting at 14%, which that 4% drop leads to dozens of more calls that we're able to run and tens, if not hundreds of thousands of more in revenue that we're able to capture thanks to that kind of optimization. And so that's where I'm excited with this app, is how we can take it forward and expand it into our other trades and be able to track how can we see this happening with rainfall and plumbing? How can we see this happen with electrical? What are the peaks and valleys with the call count and demand? So that way we can just better prepare and better, be set up for the future. So thank you guys. It's fun sharing off what we've been able to do here.
Mark, amazing. Appreciate you coming on. It's always awesome to see, the impact, the quantifiable impact and the ROI, but the impact on the people and on humans that you've seen and that so many other people are seeing by applying AI and allowing the humans to work on elevated work, more interesting work, is really, really awesome. So Mark, thank you. Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
I was also on the receiving end of this process, just replaced my system. So it was a little painful. I wish I had a personal forecast on when that thing was going to go out, but here we are. That concludes our presentation section with all of our customers and our partners and our Domo employees. Can everyone give a little virtual round of applause in the chat here for everybody who participated in today's event? Absolutely awesome to see all the innovative ideas and the different places that you guys are infusing AI into your workflows. What I would like to do now is we did something a little bit fun, and let's see if I can get here. We decided to go beyond the bounds of Domo here, beyond the bounds of this event, and we wanted to reach into your networks and see who is at the bleeding edge of AI. So for those who may not know, we asked for nominations for AI forward leaders and engineers in your networks. And over the past few weeks, we've celebrated some pretty incredible individuals who are shaping the future of AI. And we've been doing that online. So whether that's through, their big, bold ideas, some which you've seen here, groundbreaking innovation, practical implementation, we wanted to take a moment and reward a few folks who were called out in this network. So let's get started. Our first award is AI Thought Leader of the Year. And this award recognizes the individual who has most profoundly shaped the understanding and the application of AI, helping others navigate new opportunities, challenge assumptions, and envision what's next. And so, drum roll, our AI Thought Leader of the Year is Chandra Donaldson. So Chandra, congratulations. Chandra is a strategic advisor of HR and IT modernization, analytics, and AI at the United States Department of the Air Force. So what a cool place to work and what a great place to be utilizing data in AI. Congratulations, Chandra. Our next award is for AI Catalyst of the Year. Now, this award honors the person who has turned AI potential into action. So accelerating adoption, driving meaningful outcomes, and helping organizations unlock the value of AI in more practical ways. And the winner for AI Catalyst of the Year is Kesha Williams. Kesha, congratulations. Hundreds and hundreds of votes came your way online and throughout the network around all the work that you've been doing at Keysoft. So congratulations to you, Kesha. Our next award is AI Innovator of the Year. This award celebrates an individual whose vision, creativity, and groundbreaking work has helped redefine what's possible with AI, and they are shaping the future of intelligent technology. Our AI Innovator of the Year is Catherine Lee from Simple AI. Congratulations, Catherine. And for our final award as a part of the Domo Build event, we'd like to recognize the AI Builder of the Year. This award recognizes someone who has rolled up their sleeves and brought AI to life, building solutions, driving adoption, and creating those real tangible impact through intelligent technology. And our AI Builder of the Year is Lori Sloan. Lori, I don't know if you're on, but congratulations being the Chief AI Officer at Fixent. It's no wonder that you have been recognized. What an awesome role, some roles that we're seeing more and more throughout the world and especially in technology. So congratulations, Lori. We appreciate you. And we're glad to recognize all of the impact that you guys have had in the AI community. The last thing that I want to share here is, in conclusion, what did we want to do today? We wanted to get you together and we wanted to show you how you can build on Domo, how you can use AI to build new data products, new agentic solutions that change the way that you do work. I hope coming out of this, that first, you believe that you too can become an AI powerhouse. And we think with Domo, you absolutely have the ability to do that. We also wanted you to see new ideas and be inspired by what other customers are doing. And here's what's amazing. As you heard, built it in 17 minutes, built it in 24 hours, built it in a day. These cycles are starting to shorten and the ability to deliver value to your organization is condensing, and you can do that with Domo. And then finally, it's all about doing this safely and having a flexible tool, flexible architecture to integrate with other tools in your stack, to be able to do it in a governed and smart and safe way. And with Domo, you can do all those things. We really love our Domo community. I think at Domopalooza, we broke open this entire new world of how to build solutions and how to do knowledge work. And you can supercharge everything you're doing with Domo. So thank you so much for joining us. We will post all this content online and we hope to visit you guys again. Thank you.